And pot smokers in Colorado, check this out, making their 420 holiday a mainstream affair now that marijuana is legal in the state. It's a day where fans of the drug celebrate by lighting up.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, speaking of pot, drivers in Colorado claim that they're being targeted unjustly by cops in other states just because they come from a state where marijuana is legal. In fact, a lawsuit has been filed by the Colorado motorist seen here in this dash cam video, who says he was stopped in Idaho just because of his Colorado plates. So is license plate profiling a real issue, and how are police supposed to know when someone is too high to drive? Joining us now is former police instructor and current criminal defense attorney Philip Holloway. Philip, nice to see you this morning.
Good morning.
So are these police officers following the letter of the law when they pull individuals like Mr. Rosine over? And he's 70 years old. He says he was just returning from his daughter's baby shower in Washington State. He gave police no reason at all to suspect that he had pot in his car.
Well, that's right. It is kind of like shooting fish in a barrel, or so it would seem. You know, police officers are like anybody else for the most part. They get up, they go to work, they want to do their job, which necessarily means that they're going to want to stop cars and make arrests and that sort of thing. And the bottom line is, with regard to profiling, they actually can use anything that they want to focus on and pay attention to or observe a car. But when they stop a car, they've got to have an actual traffic violation. So I'm afraid just having a Colorado plate is not going to be enough.
Okay, so this guy apparently didn't do anything wrong. And so he wasn't,
so it would seem.
And so it would seem. And so he's not there smoking pot while he's driving down the street. He's 70 years old, just coming back from his daughter. So in that profiling scenario, why would they have stopped him in the first place? And they kept him there for hours. That's why this lawsuit unfolded.
Right. Well, they kept him there for, I think, over 2 hours. And, you know, the given reason for the stop was that he changed lanes without using a blinker. However, I'm suspicious of that because the officer also claimed that he smelled marijuana coming from the vehicle, which he claimed gave him the right to search that vehicle. Right. Now, if that's true and he did smell the marijuana, he would have the right to search it. But over 2 hours worth of this search and nothing was turned up, it draws, you know, it draws his initial statement into question as to whether or not he actually committed any traffic violation at all.
Here's an excerpt from that lawsuit. I'll read it and get your response to it, Phil. It says, the trooper told Mr. Rosine that he would be calling a drug-detecting canine to come and walk around the vehicle. The trooper then asked him, when is the last time you used any marijuana?
Yeah, that's very typical, and it's a typical threat that law enforcement makes, and a lot of times they'll actually bring a dog, and sometimes the dogs will alert, and sometimes they won't. But I see this all the time where cars are searched from stem to stern, and we find no evidence whatsoever of any contraband whatsoever. And they're kept on the road sometimes for 20, 30 minutes, or in this case, hours. Under the Fourth Amendment, all searches must be reasonable, and they must be reasonable in duration and in scope. And this was an entirely unreasonable search.
Here's a statement from the Idaho Police Department, and see if this jives with what you know in your training. The police department holds all of its employees to a high standard, which includes following the Constitution of the United States and the laws of the Constitution of the state of Idaho. Sort of an issue here, Philip, as we talked to Judge Napolitano earlier this week about it, is that, yes, in Colorado you have the right to smoke marijuana, but as soon as you get in a car and drive across state borders, that's where the trouble ensues. Are we going to see more of this type of profiling?
Well, I think that this particular lawsuit might be the beginning of a small flurry that we might see of these things, but they're not really going to get anywhere because, as I said earlier, police do have the right to observe a vehicle for practically any reason, whether it's a Colorado plate or because somebody's pulling out of a bar at closing time. They have the right to actually observe someone, to look for a traffic violation. They can't actually stop the car unless they have reasonable, articulable suspicion to believe that a crime has been or will be committed.
All right, Philip Holloway, we appreciate you breaking this all down for us. Complex issue, and happy Easter to you and your family.
Thank you. Happy